What is up, hockey fans, and welcome back to Clean Sheet of Ice, a Texas hockey podcast. Today, the Dallas Stars are back. I went to practice this morning and saw the boys in green and black. And it was a good time. It's good to see the boys. Good to see them back in action, back on the ice after the Four Nations break. We will be breaking down the Four Nations tournament and the final last night, where we live streamed from the office and from my home, and the heartbreak that ensued last night. We will get into that, but first, I want to thank our sponsor, Zing Zang. We love Zing Zang over here. It's right there next to Dom. If you don't see it right now, you got Bloody Mary mix, margarita mix. You can get the Bloody Marys in the can already with the alcohol infused. It's a great time. We love Zing Zang. Go get yourself some wherever you buy Zing Zang. You can get it at Target, liquor stores, wherever. Shout out to Zing Zang and shout out to Prize Picks, our daily fantasy app of choice. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit with Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy app. It's not sports betting. It's even better than that, and it's legal in Texas. So go download Prize Picks, use code Apollo. Get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. I am joined always by Dom Garcia. How we doing, bud?
We could be doing better. Definitely was a rough night last night, but we'll get there. I mean, the Stars are back, Stars are back and rolling. Boys are together, and I'm ready for this playoff push.
Absolutely. I've been itching for NHL to be back, really. I've loved the Four Nations. It was very fun to watch, but it wasn't on every single night, which was kind of a damper. Like, it was 2 weeks without NHL hockey and without the Dallas Stars, and all the boys are on vacation and everything. Much deserved, much earned. They needed a little bit of a break. It helps them get a little bit healthier. And for the guys that were a little dinged up that didn't go to Four Nations, and the guys that were at Four Nations pretty much showed out. I think there was only one player, Rope, that didn't perform up to the standard that we're used to seeing. And a lot of them elevated their standard, like Mikael Granlund. He had an overtime goal, had an assist, and a couple of goals there. So he played really well. Esa Lindell was arguably the best defenseman in the tournament. Hard to say that he wasn't, at least one or two defensive defensemen. And Jake Ottinger had a really good game, even though he let in 2 goals, but we're not blaming him. We already discussed that. But last night, we live streamed Canada versus USA. We had a great time. Junior, you, Mark, Josh, Des, all the boys were on it. And we had a good time for a solid 3 hours till overtime started. Then it was Panic City for the whole game. But overtime's even more Panic City. And of course, Canada wins in overtime, and I would like to say that this tournament never actually mattered. It's one and done. The trophy's made up. They got medals. They ended up wearing Navy hats for Canada winning. So, they were already thinking about the U.S. the whole time anyway. So it's sure, hockey's your thing. Canada, you haven't won a Stanley Cup in 31 years. I wasn't even born yet. You haven't won a Stanley Cup since before I was born. So if you want to come get hockey, go win a Stanley Cup, and we'll see you in the Olympics next year. We got the heartbreak syndrome now. We're going to fight back next year in the Olympics. And the U.S. is coming. Screeching bald eagles. We're coming.
I would say forgotten in all of this tournament was Canada had a secret weapon, and his name was Jim Nill on their side.
Yeah. And Pete DeBoer.
Put together some really good players, and I love what I saw from Thomas Harley. Played an unbelievable game in the 2 games he played. It was fun. The sport of hockey definitely was elevated these last 2 weeks. I knew it was going to be great. I didn't know it was going to be this great. I mean, people not watching hockey were watching hockey. It was unbelievable to see. Here in Houston, I saw so much fan support, and there were a bunch of, all right, it's time. Houston needs a team, and that's what I want to see. For Canada, like you said, they're not good at basketball, not good at baseball. This is all they have. And the fact that the United States is catching up to them, they should be scared. Enjoy your win right now. Enjoy it while you can, because you don't have a lot to enjoy in the future, because our boys are coming. We saw that World Juniors, we're ready. But, looking back on it, everything, it was fun. Every single game kind of blew my expectations. I was hoping there wasn't going to be too many blowouts. There was only 1 or 2. Overtime hockey is always fun. And for people that don't watch hockey normally, there's no better moment than overtime hockey. It's better than extra innings. It's better than what the NFL does. It's better than overtime in the NBA. It's the best, and it sucks that we came up short, but it's also it was an incredible moment to see. But you're right. I'm so ready to see Victory Green on the ice.
Yeah. So I was at practice this morning. I was talking to Robert Tiffin, and we were talking about the overtime goal, and we were talking about Austin Matthews. He did not have a great tournament. He had that great assist last night to start the scoring for the U.S., and he had his best game of the tournament, but he missed the net like 2 or 3 times in overtime, like wide open net. He missed it, and then he left his assignment, Connor McDavid, in the middle of the ice to be alone for an overtime goal, which was tough. So tough showing from Austin Matthews and Team USA, and I've come to the conclusion that this was actually good because Jim Nill and Pete DeBoer were part of a championship-winning team in midseason. They helped put together the team. They helped coach the team. Could they just do it again in June? I'm not saying that's true, but I'm not saying it's true. I don't know. It could be a propeller into more success for the Dallas Stars. They learn some things from some other GMs and other coaches and other players, and they pick up on some tendencies, or they pick up on new strategies, and maybe it helps elevate the Stars heading into the rest of the season. I don't know. That was the one try to find a copium positive that I took from the game last night.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting way to look at it. I mean, Jim Nill has the respect of the entire hockey world, and I think when this whole thing became a thing last year, like Hockey Canada looks towards one of the best hockey minds in the business, and the experience he gets from this, I think he's going to take it forward. I mean, it's like every single free agent or trade he gets, he has a previous relationship, and he's like, yeah, I knew, we knew Matt Duchene, we loved him, and when the time came, we snapped on it. Like, Jim Nill's the guy that will continue to build more and more hockey relationships. And he definitely used these 2 weeks to do that. And seeing that picture of Team Canada holding that trophy, I just panned toward the left and only looked at Jim Nill and Thomas Harley on that side. Still hate Mark Stone. Still can't despise Brad Marchand. You didn't do anything in the game, but to the victor go the spoils. I saw him chirping the Kachuk brothers. It is what it is. Yeah, I don't think there's any bad you can take from these last 2 weeks, only good. Even if a U.S. loses to Canada, I still think it was a great thing.
Yeah, and the other thing I noticed was that Canada got to call up Thomas Harley earlier in the tournament after game 1. They lost Pietrangelo to injury, so they get another defenseman in. He didn't practice, and then all of a sudden he's playing the game because Cale Makar has an illness out of nowhere, yada, yada, yada. So they had 7 defensemen last night. Healthy scratch was Morrissey. Harley got to play. The U.S. had an injury to McAvoy, which is another thing that we need to talk about. The debacle with the injury and the training staff and everything with him. But the U.S. wasn't able to bring in anyone. They didn't allow it. Quinn Hughes wasn't able to travel in. There was another player that they were looking at to bring in on defense to travel in case of illness or injury. And for some reason, Canada was allowed to have a total of 8 defensemen, and we were only allowed to have a total of 7. And we lost 1. They lost 1. Why weren't we able to call in Quinn Hughes? Like, why wasn't... I know he wasn't medically cleared, apparently, is what Vancouver was saying, even though he was skating without the non-contact jersey on at practice 2 days before. Whatever. Why couldn't we call in anyone on defense? That just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that... Like, we were getting reports like Quinn's going, he's going to play, and then like an hour later, they're like, no, the rules say. I'm like, what? This is a made up, like, it was...
The rules didn't apply to Canada.
Yeah. And then, like, I'm trying to look happy thoughts, but the officiating was great the whole tournament. And then we get to the championship game, and there were some questionable things going on. But hey, it is what it is. It brought me back to watching, Dallas Stars games, and there's calls that should have been called that don't get called. But I don't know. I
I don't
don't
know.
know.
I don't know. It was an awesome tournament, and I think it meant a lot to every country that was represented, and all the players and the coaches and everything, and the fans. Obviously, it boosted up. I mean, was it 10 or 11 million that watched the first iteration of Canada USA? Like one of the most watched hockey games in the last 6 years. So that was huge. And then the final has to be more. We'll find out probably tomorrow how big that Nielsen rating was. But just a big win for hockey all around in general. Like you had about a week and a half worth of tournament, and you got to watch a lot of really good players and a lot of fan favorites and players you don't actually just watch across the league because they're either on the West Coast or the East Coast, depending on where you are. Like you don't watch every single player. Like I get to watch a lot of players because I go to most Stars games and I get to watch a lot of the opposing players. And like watching Austin Matthews and Willie Nylander and Mitch Marner was really cool earlier in the season in December. Like watching them, that was a blast because they're really fucking good at hockey. So that was cool. But a lot of people don't do that often. Like we watch hockey all the time. So we watch everyone and kind of have an idea of what's going on across the league. And just getting to watch all of them on each team was at least interesting and fun as a fan. And then to see how much it meant to the players, like they were throwing hits and they're fighting and all this kind of stuff in an exhibition tournament. I thought that was a huge success for the NHL. It overpowered the NBA All-Star Weekend, and it was a great time, and it was a big win for the NHL. And now we're going to go into the Olympics, and then you're going to have World Cup after that. And the last conclusion I took from it is that the USA World Juniors teams are rocking the Miracle on Ice jerseys, and they keep winning. Just
It's a good
rock the
point.
Miracle on Ice jerseys and call it a day because those are winners, obviously.
It's a very good point. And yeah, like I watch all the hockey I can possibly watch, and I still left with so many players being like, "Wow, I knew he was good. I didn't know he was that good." Like Dylan Larkin, like
Mm-hmm.
really good player. Faber, I've never been high on Faber, but he played a really good tournament. Like just everyone kind of just elevated themselves, and I I was harsh on Bennington when he got announced that he was gonna even be with the team. That dude, that they have that trophy because I mean, well, the whole team played a great game and it was fantastic. But some of the saves he made in the championship game, I have to tip my cap to him. Like
That
he
wide open net on Kachuk towards the end of the game in the third period. And that
just
glove save where he's just falling. Oh, it's a beautiful save, but it sucks.
yeah, breaking Americans' hearts. And it was a tournament that meant nothing, but also felt like everything was on the line. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Um, we need to have Robo in the Olympics. He's started off not so hot this year and then just went on a tear since December, and I 100% think he's going to just continue that. One of the best goal scorers night in night out, and I'm really excited about USA continuing to get better as a just a country in hockey.
Yeah, pumped to see what happens next year in the Olympics. Who's on the team and who ends up being the starter? Like Hellebuck is probably the best goalie in the world right now, but Jake Ottinger could be that next season, and he could be the starter for Team USA. Like Robo is probably going to end up being on like the third or fourth line probably next year with all the star power that USA has. And if he just continues what he's doing this year and starts off the season hot next year, then he's on the team. Like there's going to be more stars, and then we're going to get to watch Finland, obviously, and all the Finns that we have now. It's like our secondary team. So yeah, the Olympics are going to be sick. Four Nations Face Off was a huge success. So credit to the NHL for coming up with the idea and executing on a fairly high level and getting more people that don't watch hockey to watch hockey. And hopefully that turns a lot of those people that watch the games into actual fans where they pick a team or they found a player that they really liked and they're like, all right, I'm going to follow Dylan Larkin. I'm going to be a Detroit guy because that was sick. He was an awesome player. He's my favorite player during the tournament. He's American. I'll root for Detroit because that's where he plays. So even if it's just all over the place and we got all these Texans that are rooting for other teams, that's okay. Just more people in hockey is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean it's so many people text me being like, okay, now I get it. Like this stuff, like if they're doing this on a weekly basis, on a nightly basis, like I need to find some way to watch more hockey. I'm like, trust me, dude. Wait till we get to the playoffs. You're gonna see some of the most entertaining sports you will find. Like everything counts. It's everything means more. It's postseason baseball, but in a faster kind of pace. And I love it. I can't wait for a lot of my friends to hopefully become Stars fans. Because we got a really good team and I've been trying to pitch the Stars on everyone. And so far I've been pretty successful. It's a really easy team to root for when your slogan is one team, one state. Like for now, Texas hockey, the center of Texas hockey is in Dallas. It will change. I'm confident we'll get a team eventually, but for right now, for today, the Stars are Texas's team.
Yeah. Speaking of the Stars, I was at practice today. The only people that were missing were Jake Ottinger, Thomas Harley, obviously, and then all the Finns that were in the Four Nations face-off. So Mikael Granlund, Rupe Hintz, and Esa Lindell, they were all not attending practice. So you had a majority of the guys there, and it's good to see everybody back. It looked like everybody's excited to get on the road again. Everybody's excited to go play hockey, and everyone looked pretty well rested, and a lot of smiles in the locker room this morning after practice. So Logan Stankoven, let me tell you, he was shooting on the third goaltender. I think it was a coach. His shot this morning, every puck was going in the net, right past the goalie. He was finding slots. He was doing all these things. So I'm hoping for the second half or the last third of the season, a little breakout from Stank and just get the ball rolling there. But boys look good. They look fresh and excited to get back to it. Talked to Matt Duchene as well, and it's like, is it hard to get back into like the swing of things after a 2-week break in the middle of a season? It's not like the start of the season where you're all amped up and it's the first game back and first game of the season, you're all kind of jazzed up and everything. He's like, no, not at all. It's good to have some rest, but the boys were practicing, the boys were working out, like all that kind of stuff. Even if you did take the full 2 weeks off, you can come back and be just fine. Like you're not losing conditioning in 2 weeks, and they're just ready to get back to it. So a lot of men on the mission heading into this weekend against New Jersey. We're playing New Jersey tomorrow night. It's an earlier game. I think it's 5 o'clock or 6. So that's nice. Love that.
Love that. Yeah, love that.
Love the East Coast road trips because the games are always an hour earlier. The Devils are a decent team. Like they have 31 wins this season so far, and they've got the Hughes brothers, and they're a decent team. But if the Stars come back as juicy as they looked in practice and the attitude on the guys' face and everything, I think it might be one of those like 6-goal games where they're just kind of blowing them out the whole time.
Yeah, I think it was Tuesday. I was kind of like, all right, I need to get my Stars fix in. So I was doing back more and more research. The Devils are very shaky at home, so that's something to keep an eye on. And I don't see a way where this is not like a breakout part of the year for Logan Stankoven. I did not know beforehand what you just said about him and how great he looked in practice. When we got to the Four Nations and I knew we were going to get 2 weeks off, there wasn't like a player more ready to get like time away from the ice than Stank. He's that missing piece, dude. Like if he becomes the Stank that we all know he can be, like we have what we need to put as good of a run as any other team in the league at a cup this year. Like he's that piece that I'll be watching. If everyone just stays where they're at, we're cool. But if Logan Stankoven steps up, it's going to be scary hours.
Yeah, he was practicing on the second line with Duchene and Marchment this morning. So I would assume that's where he's going to end up slotting in tomorrow night. Mason Marchment, by the way, he's wearing a visor plus like a plastic cage over the mouth to protect his nose. He's not wearing the full bubble anymore. He was visibly frustrated with the bubble, and he told us like it's harder to breathe. It's harder to see. It's just not comfortable. He would take it off every time he would finish a shift and get back to the bench. Like he would take his helmet off and like rest it on his lap until it was about time to go back on, and then he would strap it back in. And so that I think that may help. I don't know if it will or not, but it looks like he has a little bit more vision. And Matt Dumba out of the bubble, visor only. So, and Maverick Bourque, no bubble. Matt Duchene, no giant visor, back to the normal one. So I noticed all those things in practice this morning. And Borky looked pretty good too this morning. Not as good as Stank did, but it looks like he's pretty dialed in, but he was sliding in on the third line with Jamie Benn, I believe. So we'll see what they do with the lines and who's going to play and who doesn't tomorrow or during morning skate. I'm sure someone will tweet it out, and we'll kind of know if Otter's going to play or if it's going to be DeSmith. DeSmith practiced this morning, so I don't know who's going to play tomorrow night. Just have no idea. And the Finns weren't there. I think they stayed up north and just transferred over to New Jersey yesterday or today. And just stayed up there instead of coming down to Dallas and then getting back on another flight after a practice. I think DeBoer and everyone was just like, just take a couple extra days off. You played great. Take some rest. Earned it. Stay up there. Get some sleep.
That's super. I mean, we'll know the lines tomorrow, but that's super interesting. Like, I always liked the idea of having Duchesne with Stankoven. I remember listening to Duchesne's Chicklets interview, and he talked about how like he's making it a priority to like get Stankoven going. This was like way early in the season when he was really struggling. I'm very pumped to see that line. I'm pumped to see if Granlund keeps this pace that he used in the Four Nations. I would love. I mean, I think he's a free agent after this year, but I'd love to have him back. Lost in these last 2 weeks was Steele got an extension. Love that for him. Yeah, I like the way we're going. The cap's going to increase, and I like the culture that we built in Dallas right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Granlund's cap hit's like 5 something right now, 5.5 maybe. So I have no idea what he's looking for in free agency, if he likes Dallas enough to just stay on for a cheaper price. Sam Steele extension, like you said, it's a 2-year, $2.1 million AAV. So a little pay bump, almost double what he had. He was on 1.2 this season, and he got it up to 2.1. He's signed with the Dallas Stars for the next 2 seasons. So that's your fourth line center for the next 2 seasons, plus your number 1 PK guy, basically on the offensive side. So that's a huge, just keep the roster together and mix them in with the young guys like Oscar Beck. He's going to be here for a couple of years now, and I think Blackwell's a 1-year deal. But you've got options on that side. And Brendan Smith also, by the way, I know he's been flip-flopping forward to defense, but he had the dark tinted visor on today, which means he was playing defense. They usually wear a tinted visor if they're on defense, him and Dumba. And then if Smith was on offense, then he would wear a clear visor. So looks like Smith is back on defense. But yeah, Sam Steele, he's an integral part to this team, and getting him under contract for another 2 seasons is huge. We'll see what happens with the lines tomorrow. I'm very curious to see what DeBoer does. Like, DeBoer obviously wasn't there today. He's probably still up north, and he probably just transferring over to New Jersey today and meet up with the team tomorrow morning or tonight when they land. They got on the flight at like 12:30, I believe, or 11:30. It was 12:30 was their flight time. So they're going to land in New Jersey in a few hours, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night. I just expect a very good game from the Stars. They all look very rested and very happy and very tan. A lot of them went to Mexico and Hawaii. Everybody's got a tan. Brendan Smith and Jason Robertson really stuck out in the locker room. I was like, oh, y'all are really dark right now in comparison to 3 weeks ago.
Was Robo with Wedgwood?
He was. Yeah, I think his wife posted an Instagram, and it started going on Twitter because Star Twitter loves Scott Wedgwood.
They do. I've just noticed that.
No, that was a really big thing last year. I remember seeing it, and I was just like, I mean, he's a backup goaltender, so I guess, is that like a backup quarterback kind of thing? Is it like you just love your backup quarterback, but you don't want him to play all the time? I don't know what that is. They love Scott Wedgwood.
They love Wedgwood and the relationship that Otter has with Marchment.
Yeah, they love the Mush Otter hugs at the end of the game, even though everyone gives Otter a hug. Mush's hugs seem a little bit more intimate with everyone. Maybe that's just him, you know? Maybe he's just a really good hugger, and he just likes to hand them out. I don't know.
Oh, was Bischel recalled?
Yeah, Bischel was there today. He got recalled,
okay,
I believe, earlier this week. He didn't end up playing a game with the Texas Stars in the 2 weeks break, but he was just practicing the whole time. So they wanted him to stay down there, stay fresh, and keep working on everything that they've been telling him to work on. But they didn't make him play any games, which I think is pretty good because he deserved a break as well. Like, he just came up, like, getting thrown into the NHL, even though he looks very comfortable and all that. Like, just keep staying down there, keep staying fresh, work on your game and everything. But Bischel, every time I'm in the locker room and Bischel walks in, I'm just like, this isn't like, we're not the same species. Every time he walks in, because he's on skates too, so he's already 6'7", before the skates. I am nowhere near that. It's almost a foot taller than me. And then on skates, he's 7. It's like 7'2". I don't know, like 7'1". He's massive on skates. It's terrifying.
It's like a baby Chara.
Yeah, and he's ripped to high heavens. He's 20 years old, so like he hasn't developed the metabolism slowing gene yet. Like he's just ripped. He's like a Greek god, and he knows like 10 words in English. It's incredible. I love that kid. He's awesome.
Yeah, one of my favorites to watch for sure.
Yeah, excited to get him back in action. Him and Dumba were paired up today as well. So I think that'll be the pairing, your third D pairing. And Lyubushkin, I know he got injured before the Four Nations break and missed the last 2 games, but he was back on the ice in full practice, no red non-contact jersey on. So it seems like we're pretty healthy now. Obviously, Miro and Sagan are still on LTIR, or possible LTIR for Miro, but looks like everybody's pretty healthy and they're all jazzed up. And I'm excited for this little road trip. And they're playing the Islanders as well, back-to-back on Sunday. So go over to Long Island and just a little New York road trip, and then over to Columbus on Tuesday. And then they're going to be back home next Friday, a week from today. We'll be back in AAC. And thank God. I've been missing it, dude. It'll be a month by the time I get back in there, and I'm very excited. I went to a Mavs game. That's how desperate I was to be in that arena last week or the week before, and it was an awful experience. Terrible. Lost in overtime to the Kings, but I missed it so much that I went and bought a $9 ticket to sit like almost in the top row of the 300 level. Just because I wanted to be there. I missed it. I missed the press box. I didn't get to go in the press box, but I missed it. I'm very excited for next week. I'm super pumped.
Brother, you're telling me. I mean, I think we're like 2 weeks away. I'll be up there in the AAC as well, watching Bennington and Otter square off. So I'm excited. Yeah, AAC has definitely missed the Dallas Stars. It's been 2 weeks. It feels like it's been a month. But
I think it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah,
because they went on a road trip before Four Nations, so it'll be about a full month or at least a full month since they've been in AAC.
Yeah, and I expect that crowd to be sold out and rocking just like it was before we took that West Coast trip and then the break.
Yeah, should be a good game. It's against the Kings at home, so looking forward to it. But yeah, we'll be back earlier next week. We'll recap the weekend, and we're moving to 2 times a week. We're going to have 2 times a week. I'm going to talk about the stuff that I hear in practice or in the locker room after the games and a little bit more so we can get more in depth in the previous 2 or 3 games that we've missed and preview the next 2 or 3 and then recap those and just kind of go on the same schedule as Beyond the Diamond here on Apollo HOU's YouTube and podcast network. So subscribe to all of those things. And if you like baseball or if you just like hockey, you can subscribe to us because we did the live stream. We're going to do more live streams during the playoffs, obviously, and Hockey Day in Houston. We're going to try to do something St. Arnold's and hang out with the Houston hockey crowd and try to get more listeners and try to get more hockey fans and keep growing the game. I think that's a huge win from this past 2 weeks, and I hope that transitions into the rest of the regular season and we gain more fans from it.
Yeah, I mean, I speak for Stoney and myself when I say this. This was Clean Sheet of Ice was something that I was really excited for to get the opportunity to start. It's done really well in my opinion, and the Stars have definitely helped that. And right now is the time. We're making that playoff push, and I need everybody on the train because the train's about to leave the tracks. And I feel really confident if we can stay healthy. This is something you're going to want to be a part of.
Yeah, super excited for the second part of the season or after the break, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun ride into the playoffs, but I want to thank our sponsor, Zing Zang. Shout out to Zing Zang, the Bloody Mary mix right behind Dom. You can get the cans with the alcohol infused in it already. Go get it at Target. I get it at the liquor store that's just down the street from me. It's right there, right as you walk in the door. Just a bunch of Zing Zang, and it's awesome. We love Zing Zang on this podcast. Thank you for sponsoring, and shout out to Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up and get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you hit more or less on each stat for every player, every night, every game. It's very easy to hit the more than on pretty much every stat for the Stars. Make yourself some money. Download the app Prize Picks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. Get $100 matched on your first deposit. Dom, thank you for joining me, and shout out to Clean Sheet of Ice, a Texas hockey podcast presented by Apollo Media. We'll be back very, very soon with another episode.